Living in the D.C. area certainly has its advantages. First of all, it's steeped in U.S. history and always has something new to see. But the real gem here is the abundance of great restaurants and bars that literally line the streets. The executive chef of The Source, the Wolfgang Puck restaurant here in Washington, D.C., is inside waiting for me. He's got his little duck game plan all laid out for me. So let's go ahead and see what he's going to do. Come on. Scott, I do appreciate your allowing me back here into your workshop. After all, you are the wizard, I am the apprentice. Do not give me that knife because something bad will happen.
Careful.
But anyway, thank you so much for allowing us back here. Now, you've got your own domestic ducks, and we brought a couple of black ducks. So I'm going to turn this over to you. You know exactly what you want to do. And for people that, go out and hunt and you bring home a wild duck, Scott is going to show you a way you can prepare it and turn it into the same delicacy that he does down here at The Source here in Washington, D.C., the Wolfgang Puck restaurant. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you. Yeah, great to have you here, John, and definitely looking forward to cooking some duck with you today. We do 4 or 5 different dishes on the menu with duck, so it's a pretty broad menu item for us and a lot of different applications. The great thing about duck is it's so versatile and there's so many different things you can do. It has great fat content, the flavor of the meat is terrific, so there's so many different things that we can produce with it. So today we're going to do a little wild, a little domestic. So we got these beautiful ducks that you brought us. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with these. We're going to basically slice it off. We want to cook the breast with this, the breast and the leg separately. So you can either roast the duck whole, which we'll do a little bit later, or you can take the breast and the legs off and cook them separately. So we're going to do both processes today. So we remove the head.
I notice you have Japanese steel there, it appears.
Yeah, so we always, for me, I use Japanese steel. That's the way I roll. I like the carbon steel. I like the way it sharpens. Easy to sharpen. The German steel is great too, but I prefer personally the Japanese steel. So we basically just remove the head. Now we want to come right down the backbone and take this off the bone. And you don't want to press too hard into this. You don't want to cut into the carcass. So we're gently just running the knife along, and you'll see if you don't press too hard, you won't cut through the carcass. If you cut through the carcass, you're going to get bone in there and not meat. And then we just basically come through where the wing bone separates, and you come right through. It'll cut real easy.
You're going through the wing bone.
Right through the joint. You're going right through the joint there, not through the bone, so it comes off real easy. And you can see this thing starting to come off, and we just scrape down with the knife there, so we get a good yield. You want to get all the meat you can out of there, just like that. So then you can come here, and we can just cut right here.
Now the purpose of separating the breast from the legs, and you say they're cooked separately?
Correct. So separating the breast from the leg, there's a higher fat content, more bone in the leg, so it takes a little longer to cook. Whereas the breast is basically thin, all meat, doesn't take as long to cook. So you want to cook them separately so the breast doesn't overcook before the leg is finished. Then we basically just kind of come down here, and you want to just kind of push your knife back, and you can see that bone pops right out.
Yep.
That's what we're looking for. We want that to pop right out of there.
Right out of the socket.
And then right out of the socket, we just cut right through it. See how easily that goes right through. And we're going to separate the leg and the breast just like that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So once we get it cut down like that, now we'll start cooking it separately. First thing we're going to do is actually score the back of it. So when I say score, we're basically just going to cut into the skin very gently. And what that's going to do is going to help the fat in the skin and the fat underneath the skin to render evenly. So we want to cook that out. So when you eat a duck, sometimes it's chewy, the outside skin. That's because we didn't score it so when the fat gets out, it cooks evenly.
So this will help crisp the skin?
This will help crisp the skin, correct. Just gently.
Now, do you go all the way through the skin?
No, you can go all the way through the skin, but you don't want to hit the meat.
I got you.
Just very gently on there.
I got you. And when you say when the fat renders, what does that actually mean?
So it basically means you have a pretty big, in duck specifically, you have a pretty big line of fat in there. We want to slowly cook that away. So as we're rendering,
turn it to oil.
So yeah, you're basically just rendering as producing the fat into oil.
Gotcha.
So we do that. We season it with a little salt and pepper on both sides.
Looks like kosher salt, is it?
Yeah, we use kosher salt. Little salt and pepper, and then all we're going to do is simply put this in. You can put it right into a cold pan. You don't even need to put any oil because there's so much fat in the duck.
Is that right?
Just a cold pan, just like that. And see, normally if you put something in there, it'll stick. With this, we'll start to render its own fat, and it'll come right out. So you don't even need to put oil in there. Now this, once we get in the pan, it's going to take about 20 minutes to cook, real slow. super slow temperature.
Is that right? So it's low heat.
Super low heat. I put this one on about 5 minutes ago, so you can see all the fat that's been rendering out of there.
That pan was just like this before you put that piece of meat
Yep.
in.
And you see how the skin's starting to crisp.
Right.
That's all we're doing. And
all it has on there is salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. That's it. It's really with this one. It's all about the method. The method for cooking the duck breast. Right now we're moving into spring. We're just starting spring, so we like to have, whenever you're making any dish, you want it to be seasonally appropriate. Just like you have the season for hunting.
Sure.
Same idea with vegetables. We want to have the vegetables at the peak of their season. They're going to be the best flavor. So we have some spring mushrooms, some asparagus, some fava beans, and some spring peas. So we're going to make a real quick saute. We actually cook most of our food here in a wok.
Wow.
So we get a high powerful
Oh, I thought the grizzly was super bad. Hey, Grizz, wait till you get a load of this.
Exactly.
This ain't right. How much did that guy get with the blowtorch underneath there? With the cutting sword?
Yeah.
He's got a rosebud for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is, we run a traditional Chinese kitchen, so a lot of woks. We have a traditional Chinese cabinet steamer, so we do a lot of traditional steaming. But you get a lot of high heat, and the good thing about high heat, you can cook really fast.
It's just like a blink of an eye, right?
Blink of an eye. And they, you can buy a portable wok that I think is great. It's almost like a turkey cooker with a big propane tank. You put it in your driveway, you set up,
and take it outside.
You take it right outside.
How many BTUs? Any idea off the top of your head that thing blowing out of there?
I think it's like 20,000 BTUs, something like that. So. Yeah. So we start with a little bit of chopped garlic.
And it's already in an oil?
Yeah, we put a little peanut oil.
Now, how much oil would you put in? I mean, that didn't look like a tablespoon?
That's it, yeah. Just a
Not a lot.
That's one of the great things about Chinese cooking is it's pretty healthy, but it has a lot of flavor. So real simple, not a lot of oil.
Oh, I can smell the bouquet of that garlic all right.
Cooking that out. Again, we're gonna add a little touch of sugar.
Sugar once again.
Sugar.
That's the best tip I've picked up so far today, I think, Scott, is you put a little bit of sugar in some of these things.
This one is a little bit of sambal, so this is crushed chilies with a little bit of garlic as well. So a little bit of spice. And now I've already blanched this asparagus. So I've already put this in boiling water for about 10 seconds and taken it out. So the asparagus is basically cooked. So we're just going to add the asparagus. The peas and the fava beans are also already cooked real quick, just blanched in water.
Now you're cooking the vegetables twice. What's the reason for blanching?
For blanching, we're going to hold their color. And we're
that's
going
what I
to
thought
control
it might
them.
be.
And it's still firm. We don't want to cook these to death, so I just blanch them real fast.
You don't want them soggy.
Exactly. Now I'm just warming them.
I see.
And I'm going to add just a little bit of soy sauce.
Now you add some soy sauce.
A little bit of soy sauce. We're going to put that in the center of our plate. Just like that. Now our duck breast should be about ready. See how that's getting nice and crispy like that?
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Now we just want to flip it.
This is where the kiss comes from, huh?
About 10 seconds on that side. And duck is great. You can eat it medium rare, medium.
Yeah.
I prefer.
I think most people prefer it. They overcook duck. I think
Exactly.
it's a big mistake a lot of people make.
We just kind of want to kiss that on that side of the pan. And that's about it. Now, an important thing to do when you're cooking with duck is to let this rest now. A lot of times, it's the same with meats on the grill.
Yep.
We want to let this rest. We're going to have basically the blood and the liquid inside the duck kind of coagulate so it doesn't run all over the place. That's another mistake people do. If I cut this too fast, all the moisture is going to run right out of this duck.
But you're still going to, even when you let it rest, you're still going to lose some of the liquid inside of the meat, correct? Yeah, because I mean, I've let it rest and I'm still going, hey, it's still leaking on it.
You're not ever going to keep all of it, but you want to try to keep as much as you can.
Sure.
And so if you let this rest for about 10 minutes, it'll firm up a little bit and it won't run all over the place.
Got it.
So we let that rest. At the source, we make a little sauce. We use a Chinese style wine called plum wine. and we basically just reduce the plum wine down.
So that's pretty much just straight, with the alcohol and everything boiled out of it.
Yep.
That's pretty much just straight wine. So
And
it gets
also,
very thick, almost like a syrup. It looks
exactly, but we also put duck stock in it. So
okay.
we take the duck feet, the duck heads, and the duck bones, the carcass from the center, and we simmer that slowly for about 4 hours with celery, onions, and carrots. So we make this sort of rich broth. We cook some vegetables, celery, onions, carrots, add plum wine to it, reduce that down, and then we add some duck stock to it and reduce that down. And then you're gonna come up with this sauce, which is a really beautiful, thick sauce, like luxurious.
Yeah.
And we just put a little bit of this on the plate. The plum wine is pretty sweet, so we just add a small amount of the plum wine.
Well, I'm going to ask stupid question number 5, I think. But you know, you go to the store and you say where it says duck sauce.
Right.
This isn't the same thing.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, duck sauce.
I didn't want anybody. I was already getting confused.
Duck sauce is basically sort of a
commercial.
Cheapo. It's kind of a funny thing that you get in a Chinese restaurant. It's mostly just sugar.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
There's no actual duck of any sort in that sauce.
Gotcha.
So now that our duck's rested, we just want to slice this, and you got the nice crispy skin, and you got the nice moist meat, and we just kind of slice it down.
That's the trick here, and that's where the sharp knife comes in, because that skin is crispy enough. It's very, unless you have a really sharp knife, and you wouldn't want to use a serrated knife, I guess, because it's gonna cut and almost like a saw. You're gonna saw through the meat.
I mean, basically, that's the duck dish for the duck breast. You got a nice medium duck.
Then you can see how it's kind of the light pink, not very pink inside, which means there's all the flavor. It hadn't been overcooked.
Yep, that's it.